Okay, hello, sorry, I was speaking in French before, so third video. In this video, I will show you, and that's why it's gone down a little bit, so I'm now sitting instead of standing. So you will see me sit up, I'll go up, sit up, etc., as I show stuff, okay? So in the first video, we've looked at all the multifaceted approach to health and well-being understood by Touch for Health, and how everything comes in line when you deal with people and with the unconscious mind, especially. The second video, we looked at all the clearing tests and all the setup and the switch on routine, how to set yourself up for your day using the switch on routine. So hopefully there's no question before we start this third little cover video. Sorry, just finding a little bit of my words, but it will be better as soon as we get into things. So this video will cover two things. The first is the full 14 muscle balance as a dance. So I'll show you exactly all the 14 muscles and which ones are being down the direction we're going, that we're doing things in contraction, etc. So that's what we are going to do first. So I'll go through the whole 14 muscle balance, okay? Then we'll look into more the central meridian, so the central system and the governing system. And we'll look at the spinal reflex and so the spinal reflex for both of them, okay? So first, let's start with the 14 muscle balance dance. There will be a story at the end, but for now, the dance. So we are starting there. So we've done all the clearing tests. So all this, those. Well, first the permission to test, but the permission to test you can put in either at first or you can put in as just before you do the push to mush. So you have to ask for the permission to test before you actually touch the other person, okay? So you can basically teach them to do their switch on routine or to do the clearing test first without really asking for permission. But I prefer if you do it at the start because that's good practice. But if you forget, as long as you ask for permission before you touch the person, then we're all clear, okay? Cool, good. So you've done all this, you've done the push to mush, you've tested, it went down, so it unlocked, or it was very difficult for the person to hold. Then you've done the lengthen to strengthen, and it was easy to hold the pressure, and nothing moved, really. Fourth thing, you try for hydration, so you tuck wisp of hair, do the test. If it unlocks, so if it's difficult to hold, then you drink water, very easy. If it's normal, nothing moves, then, and when I say nothing moves, look at the other, the rest of the body. So if when doing that, you just look at the person and the person has that movement here to restrict everything, to use all the rest of their muscles to resist the pressure, to hold the pressure, then you have to consider it as an unlock, and they need to drink more, okay? Cool, so they've drunk, you retest again, everything runs fine, so they're hydrated, you are hydrated as well. Then you do the central meridian, try easy, zip down, try again, not easy, and zip up again and try. If you want to give more of an education around this, you can always tell them to do stuff like, so you're still there trying both sides or just one side, depending on what you want to work on. It's usually good at the start to have both, because it's more difficult to have the whole body working against you if you're pushing down on both of them at the same time, okay? So you can ask them, do you, so if their name is, like for instance, I can say, I am Maureen, and it will be easy. If I'm saying now, I am Sophie, which is incorrect, so I don't have any name. So my two names are Maureen and Caroline. I'm Fatfrock, but that's my surname, so it's different. But I've got two names, Maureen and Caroline. So if I'm saying I'm Sophie, the body will answer no. That's not correct. There's a stress there. Why are you saying you're Sophie when actually you're Maureen? So it's pretty interesting. So if someone doesn't feel like what you're telling them is making any sense, ask them to do that. You can also say, I love snails, which is not the case, and it will go down. Whereas if I'm saying I love chocolate, and then it will stay up, because that's correct. Whether or not it's good for me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't create a stress by saying just I love something that I don't like at all, okay? So these are the three simple things. Remember that the first part is more to make sure that you've got an understanding of how the other person works. So if for them, they have to tell you that it's difficult, then they have to tell you that it's difficult to hold the pressure, and that's an unlock for them, okay? Whereas some people just will let everything go. So it will be very, very easy for you to realize that it's an unlock, because they just won't be able to hold any pressure. Some people will try and contract everything to hold that pressure. It's usually the case with people that are very, very sporty, and they will try, because that's the challenge is something that they understand and they like. They will actually try to resist. So the idea is to always brace the person, so to have two hands on the person, one testing and one, so either second test or one on the shoulder, for instance, where you can actually feel whether the tension is only coming from that muscle that we are testing. So that's one muscle testing, not muscles testing, just one muscle that we're testing. So it's only that muscle that needs to react and not the rest of the body, okay? So if while testing it, you feel that the rest of the body is just like, ooh, let me out kind of thing, then that means that it's an unlock, okay? You have to treat that as an unlock. Same way, if the person is encountering pain when you do that, treat it as an unlock. Don't try to push the test, okay? So if the person, for whatever reason, when you do this, say, well, it's painful, then you treat it as an unlock. Same for every other muscle that we are going to go through in Touch for Health. If there is any pain being experienced by the client or the person that you give the balance to, that means that, that it's an unlock. So basically the energy is not flowing correctly. If it was flowing correctly, there wouldn't be any pain, okay? Cool, good. So the 14 muscle balance. So after doing all this, so we're going to do central. So it's the modest seal coming up. So it's that way, that way. The reason why when I'm showing it that way is that you, as giving the balance, will put the pressure on that side. So you will push down as a modestile, so the same way. And the person will have to hold and not allow you to continue in that movement. Okay, so that's central. Governing is chicken dance, so shoulder blades at the back, everything is at the back, the hands are behind your back as well, and you're going this way. So you're going, so you're pushing on this to come in. So we're doing this and we're doing this, okay? Then we've got the low dive. So it's stomach system and it goes down. It's like if you were going at the swimming pool and you were doing this, okay? It's exactly the same. So we're doing this way, going down. So be careful, the hand is turned. So the palm of the hand looks outside, okay? Both of them go down. Then spleen is a penguin, okay? So the penguin, so if you look at yourself as a penguin, you're doing this, the hands are going, so the palm of the hands are turned towards the outside, and the movement is to go outside, okay? Now, heart is like this, the scarecrow. So we're having the hand of the scarecrow down and we're moving upwards, okay? So that's the heart meridian, or the heart system. Now, small intestine will work on the abdominal muscles and the quadricep, which is linked to that system. So it's I'm sure you've all been to school and I'm sure you've all had to do this. But basically, when you try to do that, is going up. So you've got a bit more than 90 degrees angle. So it has to, you have to see your foot. So like this, you have to see your foot. And then you press down to go down. So up, go down. Then it's the bladder meridian. For the bladder meridian, I'm just going down on again. So you'll ask the person to go down completely, and you will try this. So on the toes of the foot, the toes have to look at the opposite ear, and you will get that down, okay? So it's just going down. So that the movement is this. Both sides, going down. Then going up, and we are at the central meridian. No, so kidney meridian. Kidney meridian is, how can I do this so that you can see? So for kidney meridian, I'll probably put it down there because you need to see my sheet. Kidney meridian is the foot is going down. So you've got, so that's the normal balanced position. You left the foot, you put the foot on the outside and you push it there. So the movement is going that way, okay? And if I do it this way, so yeah, that way. If you want to see it from the other side, it's going that way and out. The same for the other foot, goes that way and out. And that way and out, okay? So that's the kidney meridian that we're testing by testing the psoas, which is a very interesting muscle that we'll look into in more detail afterwards, okay, in another video. Then Circ6. What is interesting with Circ6 is that it's a meridian, or it's an organ that doesn't really exist in the Western organization of the body. So it's more about sexual energy, the basic type of energy, and the reproductive system. The way to test that is that you're taking, so that's your balance again. We're taking that out and we're going down. So the foot stays the same and we're going down, okay? Same on the other side. Now we're finished for that part anyway. In the foot, the feet of your, the downward of your body. Now we're doing triple warmer. Triple warmer again is an organization that is, or a system that is not present in Western physiology, if you think of it this way, or organ. It's not an organ itself. It's more relating to the circulatory system, and so it's linked to the heart meridian, it's linked to the sex meridian, and it's also linked to the small intestine. So we'll see that in Touch for Health too. Okay, so don't get yourself all mixed up for now. But the muscle that we're testing goes there. So it's like having a nice cover to be warm. And that's what triple warmer does. It's because of the circulatory system, so all the blood flow, etc., keeps you warm at night. So you're just doing this. Okay. Now, anterior deltoid, we've seen that in the push to move, lengthen to strengthen, is linked to or associated to the gallbladder system, and it goes downwards, as you know already. After the gallbladder comes the liver system. And so you remember when we started there with the stomach system, it's more or less the same, apart from the fact that we are going high dive, going upwards. After that, there's the lung system, and it goes this way. So we've got to get our hands in a specific place, and the movement goes down, up, up, and goes down. So that's the lung. And finally, the last system is the large intestine system. And I need to get you down again to see my feet. Okay. And the last part is to go, so the foot is inside, making sure that you get to see all this. The foot is inside, and we're doing the scissors. So we're going down like this, okay, and going this way. So that's the dance of the whole weekend. But let's start with, and you'll see that it's very it's not going to be such an issue, to be honest. It's going to be pretty easy to get through. But for now, we're going to look at two of them. We're going to look at the central meridian and the governing meridian. And for that, I need to share my screen. Okay, so I've got something that is really, really, really cool. I absolutely love it. And I'm going to show you where everything sits for the muscles that we are going to test. Okay, now I can try that. So it's supraspinatus. So on the left. So you can see it there. So it goes inside the collarbone, or the shoulder bone. So it's something that, and I can try this. Yay! Okay, so you've got that section there. So essentially, it's on. It's close to the triangles here that are always so tense. Okay. So you've got two areas. You've got the insertion and the origin. we'll see in another video a way of balancing a muscle with those two areas in the muscle, so the insertion and the origin of the muscle. Oh, just let me check that I've got everything covered. So what you need to remember for origin and insertion is origin is usually a larger area. It covers a larger area, as you can see there. And so it makes, that's where the muscle, that's the part of the muscle that doesn't move. Whereas the insertion is usually linked to connective tissues, so ligaments and yeah, basically ligaments and tendons, and that's the part that moves. Whereas here we're stuck on the bone itself. Okay. So yeah, it's pretty cool, eh? The way we test is, and the reason why we're doing those movements is that we test in contraction. So we are reducing the length of the muscle as much as possible. So to reduce that length, we need the shoulder blade to be going outwards. So we're going that way, and we're slowly stretching the muscle again. So that's why for central and the supraspinatus muscle, we are doing this. So we are getting the muscle, so the arms in, and therefore we are stretching out the supraspinatus muscle at the back of our shoulder. Okay, does it make sense? Hope it makes sense. But we always test in contraction. The reason why we test in contraction is that it's kind of already adding a handicap, if you like. So that's why we don't need to put so much pressure on the muscle testing. It's just because we're already testing it in contraction, so it's already difficult to hold that place. So if there is any imbalance whatsoever, any stress that relates to that system, so the central meridian system, then it will be incredibly hard to hold that pressure. Okay, good. So we've got one on the left, and of course there's the same on the right. So it's here, as you can see, and probably just try it out. So if you want, yeah. So you've got the one on the right, and we are, as you've seen. So you've seen me doing it from that arm and that other arm. Okay. The reason why we're doing this is that every single meridian has there's one meridian on the left and one meridian on the right. And even though we're talking about the central and governing meridian, there's still two of them, okay? One on the left, one on the right. And it's kind of linked to the yin and yang as well. So there's, yeah, so it's always bipolar kind of thinking or what do you call that? Philosophy, yeah. So it's a bipolar kind of thing. So you've got the right and the left. So you need to try both of them. And two things can happen. Three things actually can happen. First, everything's fine, everything holds. So there's no problem, nothing moves. So that muscle that we're trying is perfectly imbalanced. There's no stress whatsoever linked to that central system. And that's fine, and you go to the next one. Second possibility, there's both of the arms are unlocking. So they are all, so it's either very, very difficult to hold the pressure, or it just falls down. You know, I'm the kind of person that I've been balanced so much that I'm not even resisting anymore. It just falls down. Okay. When it's like this, the first point of correction when there's both sides is to use a spinal reflex correction. And you will find this if you look at page 98 of your book. You've got the full picture. So what I'm just showing you now in that very cool software, you've got it on your page. So you don't really need that software. It's just for fun, really. I could, pass hours just looking at all the nervous system and the muscles and everything and how everything fits together, but it's only me. Right? So you've got everything written on your page, on the page 99, actually. So the first point of correction when both sides unlock, and this is what you tried on in the class, because we were learning this correction with the central system and the governing system. So we were expecting both of them to unlock, is a spinal reflex point. The spinal reflex point for the central meridian is set up in C1, C2, and C1, C2 is over there. And I'm sure I can, so you can see the spine, so the vertebrae, the cervical vertebrae in your neck, and it's the top one and two. The reason why there's usually two vertebrae included in spinal reflex is that it's not a specific point. It's something that that probably is somewhere between the space of 4 different fingers. So when you're going there to correct, you're taking the whole, so the 4 fingers, so the index, middle, ring finger and little finger together to do this. And you can ask the person if the pressure is good enough when you do that, or if they want some more, or if it's too much, then you just try and be less in depth. You don't need to push, you don't need to do anything that much. What you want is, we are still working with energy pretty much, so what you want is to do a little what do you call that, rub on the vertebrae, or the cervical vertebrae. If you want to do it on your own, you can. It's over there. It's at the limit with your skull, and you just do this, and that's enough. Okay. When you've done that for maybe 10 seconds, maybe 20 seconds, depending on what the person gives you as a feedback, you'll see when you will experience when you do that a few times, that at some point when you do a spinal reflex, there's always a moment where the person does this, or does this, or does whatever. So it's just, instead of being open to the correction, they start moving. If they start moving, that's your cue to say, okay, I don't need, or the person doesn't need any more of this correction. I can stop now. Okay. And then you try again, and it should lock. There shouldn't be any other problem. Okay, so it should lock directly. If it doesn't, sometimes it does happen that it's not, instead of having 2 unlocks, you've got one of them being the left or the right. Then you need to go deeper. So the next stage of correction is neuro-lymphatics, sorry, and then neurovascular. So we'll see that in more depth in the next video for, so stomach, spleen, and heart meridian. But for this one, I just wanted to open your awareness to the fact that spinal reflex is only when both sides unlock. It's also a point on the spine or on the cervical vertebrae, usually, and it's really on the spine that you go and correct, and you use those 4 fingers. So it's not something that is very precise, and that's okay. The way I think about it is that everyone's different. So the energy point to correct is not going probably to be the same in me as it is on you guys, or on your family, or on your friends. So everyone has a little bit of a different energy system, right? So what you want, painful. What you want is to make sure that you get that point wherever that is. So that's why you don't need to be that precise. On the contrary, you probably are better off doing it with 4 fingers and not just 2 or just 1. Okay, cool. So in your page 99 for central meridian, you've got the neuro-lymphatics message points, which are there. So if you've got a bra, it's where the bra is. So that's on the front. And if you're, when you have this and the neuro-lymphatics come up, so you're basically getting the client to touch that neuro-lymphatic area, and you try again and it locks. So that means that that's the correction that the body wants. Then you correct this. So you get the client to correct this area. So you explain where it is. And you're going at the back and do the back points, which for central is just on the crease of the skull, just right next to the spinal reflex points. More often than not, you'll find that the neurolymphatics massage points are both sides of where the spinal reflex point is, but it's not every single time. So more often than not, it's the case, but sometimes there are exceptions to every rule. What you want to know with neurolymphatics is that it's going to cover, so it's not on the spine, it's just between the vertebrae. So it's not on the spine at all, so it's not on the bone. It's just looking at the connective tissues between the muscle and the spine, okay? And then if it's still not there, so if it's still an unlock, when the person does this, still an unlock, then you go through neurovascular, which is on page 98. Neurovascular holding point, which for central meridian are just, so you've got your, so it's here, let's see if I can get that to, ooh, well, yay. Yep, ooh, it's not nice, eh? Let's leave him where it is. I can have a woman as well instead of a man. Oh, it's a woman, actually. If it was a man, it would be different, I guess, a little bit. So yeah, it's above the eyebrows here. And so you've got 2 holding points like this. And then the second hand goes on the fontanelle. So it's where, if you've got babies, if you've ever seen babies, that's where their pulse is. So it's pretty, there's nothing in, no, it's not that there's nothing. It's just that it's like a mushy part of the skull to allow the brain and the skull to grow with the baby, right? So that's why you can see the pulse, the heart pulse on the head of the baby. Okay, so you just hold on to it and you wait and you wait and you wait. Okay, so that's the neurovascular. I'm going to stop because that's the main. Usually it will go for either of these 3. So either spinal reflex when both sides unlocks, neurolymphatics if it's only one side, either the left or the right, and or If it's not the neurovascular, so when you try it out, it doesn't lock, then it's usually if you put your hands over there, then it will lock, and you know that it's the neurovascular that you need to do, okay? So it's, what I like with this is that it's a method where you just give exactly the correction the body needs for the system to be in balance again, okay? So if it's on both sides, you go for spinal reflex and you don't have to go any further, apart from the fact that if you try again afterwards and it's unlocking on one side, then you need to go through the rest of the discussion, basically. So you need to find out. So it's a trial and error kind of thing. So you need, it's like being an inspector, a health inspector, and you need to try to find out exactly what the solution is, what the correction is at this time for that system, okay? Then we go on with the governing meridian. So the governing meridian is Teres Major. So I'm just going to show it on this Teres Major, and we'll take the one on the right. So Teres Major is, as you can see, locked on the shoulder blade as well. So you've got the origin here, so that's the largest part that is not moving because it's locked on the bone, and insertion so is coming on the side of the, so underneath your armpit, basically. So that's the part that is linked or attached to connective tissue like ligaments or tendons. So it's the parts that will move. If you like, oh, sorry, can't talk right now. Let's continue. So that's the muscle that is linked or associated with the governing meridian. The contraction for this muscle is way back, and that's why you need your hands out. You're increasing the contraction by putting your hands out, putting your shoulder blades out, and so that's where your muscle is mostly contracted. Then, so we're going this way. So the person testing will come and try and push it inside, okay, in the front of the body. If both sides unlock, then you've got a spinal reflex point that you need to correct, and it's in T2. Now, I'll show you in this one. Oh, is it this one? Maybe I should, yeah. Okay, so we're, Teres Major is here. Oh, Teres Minor, Teres Major. And T2, so you've got the cerebral vertebrae, there's 7 of them. And the T1 is one that makes a little hill or a little mountain on your spine when you look at it. It's just there. Yeah. So T2 is just below it. Yeah. So you're just getting to so you're just rubbing that area again with all 3 or 4 fingers, and you rub. You wait for the person to actually do this, and then you can get that back up again, try it again. Hopefully everything locks and you can go forward. If it doesn't lock, or if just one of them unlock, then, so if both of them unlock again, so that means that the spinal reflex was not done long enough, so you need to do it again. If, however, just one area or one muscle, one side unlocks, then you need to go through the same inquiry type of question, is checking whether it's the neurolymphatics point. So you can see that on page 105. So you've got, it's over there, here. So it's like 5 centimeters away from the collarbone, just at the same. If you've got the nipple does this to the collarbone, and you're there. Okay. So there, and if you try it out, if doing that, it locks, then that means that it's the neurolymphatics that you need to correct the system. And so you just do this. You ask your client to do this. Sometimes it can be sore. Like for me, for instance, this area is really, really sore. But that probably means that it's something that needs to be corrected anyway. And then you will go on the other side to do the one that is close to T2, both sides. So again, close to the, I get there, the spinal reflex point, and you just rub it up. So rub it up on the outside. Okay, so you're massaging the connective tissues between the vertebrae on both sides of the spine. Okay, so you're essentially doing this. You see? I should find the a hand instead of an arrow, but that's what needs to happen. So basically, you're doing this on both sides. If again one, so it doesn't lock when you touch those neurolymphatics points, then you go to neurovascular and you find the points that you need on 104 at the bottom of the page on the left, neurovascular holding point, and you realize that it's on the temporal muscle just above the ears. Okay, cool. So that was all for meridian central and the governing meridian and system. So we've seen the supraspinatus, so the modest seal, and then the chicken wings for the governing meridian. We've seen that for the central meridian, the spinal reflex point is in the neck, so at C1, so at the top of the neck, close to the skull. The neurolymphatics are just right next to it, between C1 and C2, so just at the base of the skull, and you just rub. The neurovascular points are just on the forehead, above the eyebrows, and on the fontanelle, on top of the skull. For the governing meridian, we've seen that the spinal reflex point for Teres Major is T, so the second thoracic vertebrae, which is from the top. So T1 is here, and then you've got T2 on this. We've seen that the neuro, if we've got just one side unlocking, then you need to start with neurolymphatics that are here. So you take the nipple and go to here, and it's about halfway. And the neurolymphatics on the back of the body will be close to T2, so on both sides, in between the vertebrae. And finally, that the neurovascular holding points are just above the ear on the temporal joint, temporal bone over there. Okay. What else do I need to tell you about these two systems? And I'm just going to stop the share. No, that's not what I wanted to do. Stop the share. The one thing that I really wanted to make sure you knew about for these two meridians is that they are the keys. So you need those keys to be able to open the door afterwards. So you need those two meridians to be synchronized and to be locking before you do anything else. So these two are really, really important. They need to be checked and they need to be corrected directly. The reason why I'm saying that is that at some point in Touch for Health 2, when we look at 1 point correction, it's the 1 point correction from the other systems, not these two. So these two needs to be corrected whenever you start Touch for Health balance, all the time. So if it's unlocking, don't wait, just correct them. If not, you'll not have the keys and you won't be able to proceed. Or if you're proceeding without those keys, then the balance will not hold somehow. Okay? So that was a long one, but I'm sure I've said a lot more than I was supposed to. If we were looking at this video the same way that you saw it during and experienced it during the workshop, just because in the workshop we used those two and we only corrected with a spinal reflex. However, I just wanted to make sure that you were aware and that you had the information necessary to do any type of corrections, that be them neurolymphatics or neurovascular, which are the ones that we are mainly using throughout the Touch for Health balance. There are other, so origin and insertion that I talked about a little, and meridian. So we correct the meridian, so we balance the meridian by tracing it. But that can be done as a dance in another video. So I don't want to put too much there. So remember that you're trying both sides, left and right. If both sides are unlocking, that's spinal reflex. If only one side, be it left or right, then you will need to ask to inquire a little bit more about what the body actually needs. And if it's the right side that is unlocking, then, for instance, I will put my, so the left side is unlocking for you, then I'll put my right hand where the neurolymphatics point is with my right hand and try again. If it locks, that means that this is what I needed. So I'll just do the massage of the neurolymphatics point. If it's not what I needed, so it will unlock still, then I'm putting my hands over there, try it again. If it locks there, then that's what I need. Neurovascular, it's only you just hold the points, so here and here, so you just hold the points for same as ever. If you feel that the client is moving, that means that he had enough and probably it will lock afterwards, okay? That's all for this one. Let's meet in the next one for stomach, spleen, heart. See you.